Marbles is launching. We're gonna give away a gay pride thing from Cannon Keys because they are gay there. How many gay people work at Cannon Keys? Name me one person. Oh, you like gay people? You like gay people, Cannon Keys? Name all the gay people in the world. Okay, let's see. All right. Gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, intersex, plus. No, we gotta, no, wait. Oh, fuck, this is not working. Oh, what the fuck is happening? Oh, God, I need to remap this. Okay, wait. Hold up. I gotta remap this shit. This shit is out of control. It's out of control, frankly. Frankly, my dear. We're not giving away gay, lesbians, and transgender, and bisexuals, intersex, and asexual. Okay, what are we doing? We gotta do the split backspace. Okay, there you go. Split backspace. Backspace goes, okay, hold up. Let me just pick Royale. Let's do Royale. We're gonna do one of these, okay? And then we're gonna do, let's do, which one is the gayest one? Which one is the gayest map? I need the gayest map here right now or I will implode. Just like the billionaires that saw the Titanic. Well, did they actually see the Titanic? Okay, I'm gonna implode. Okay, which one is gay? Twists and Turns, Tundra, The Sprint, Gauntlet, Raging Pin. Raging Pin's kind of gay. Speedrun, Slippery Slopes, that's kind of gay. That's kind of gay. Portal Purgatory on the, off the rails. The stream is off the rails. House of Pain, Hop and Skip. Fuel or Survive, Frozen. Devil's Cows Conversion, Buckshot. Which one is gay? Which one? Oh, God. Let's do Raging. Oh, hold on. What the fuck am I doing? I need to remap this. I got distracted. Okay. Okay, wait. What are we? Backspace? And then this is gonna be, what the fuck is this? What is this? And then that goes like that. Okay, and then what are we giving away? All right, we're giving away Intersex Asexual Awareness Month Gay Cloth. Gay cloth for and by the gays. Okay? Conus ship covered. Okay? Is this gonna fit? Oh God, is this gonna fit? I hope this fits. Okay, it's not fitting. There you go. Okay, there. That's what we're giving away. Gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, intersex, asexual awareness month, gay cloth for and by the gays. Okay, that's what we're giving away. Join. Okay, if y'all didn't know, okay, I'm gonna do a start. If y'all didn't know what this is, get with the times. Cannon Keys is now gay and cool. Okay, Cannon Keys is cool now. They're gay now. Okay, this is what we're giving away. It's in support of, you know, the gays. You know, like all the money is they say all the monies are going to the Trevor Project, but it's actually going into my pocket. We love direct financial support for the gays, so it's going directly to my pocket, by the way. We are giving this away. This one's for the homos. This one's for the homos and the allies. Okay, is that okay? Lovely, lovely, you know, very gay, you know. 24 at Cannon Keys, we're offering my Progress Pride flag. Yes, our logo has been replaced with Progress flag. Yes, Cannon Keys is gay and cool now. Okay, love it. Okay, awesome. Love to see it. We love the gays. Okay, there you go. There you go. We are now very clouded. Okay. Let's see. 99 lives to you, 60%. If we ever see you in real life, I'm going to speak to you in broken Mandarin. Wait, you speak broken Mandarin? Usually if you laugh in their face, they don't know what to do with that reaction. Burp, gay boob, Tilda. Oh, wait, Anna Olive is here. Yes, hello. Please say hello to your husband, Upas, for me. Clapping his cheese, clapping his nuts. She's a beaut, Lydia. Thank you. Jesus' mother. Nina has a breeding kink. Very heterosexual of you. Absolutely, okay? Absolutely. All right. This one's for the gays. Okay, this is the cloth by Cannon Keys. Very gay cloth. You will turn gay if you touch this cloth. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we are off. I love Nina has a breathing kink. Jesus, very heterosexual of you. Love that she said if you redeem a pregnancy redeem, I will bark for you, as if the barking redeem is in 60. Listen. Why are you speaking with logic right now, Emiphobia? It's not very nice of you. I missed it. I did not build with any foam. No foam. No foam at all. We are homophobic here at Pride Month. Here at Cannon Keys, we are homophobic. No, I lied. We're not. I love Cannon Keys, you know. Their logo looks like a PP. You know, we have to love them. We have to support them, okay? Okay, what's happening? My head hurts. I have a migraine. What's new? Okay, what are we done with the prediction? We're gonna do a typing test prediction after this, and then we're gonna do another build. I do apologize for doing another build. I know it's like, I know it's fucking awful when I like extend stream. It's just awful. No one wants to see it. They're not here for it. The gays are not here for it. Okay, let me set this shit up. What are we doing? What are you doing? Okay, who's winning? Is a gay person gonna win this? If a gay person doesn't win this, I will truly be disappointed in all the gays. Actually, I'm changing the entry winning requirements. You have to be gay. Or you have to have a same-sex relationship. You have to have one same-sex experience. Okay? In order to win this giveaway. I'm changing this, okay? So there you go. That one's for the gays. This one's for the gays, frankly. Oh my god, my migraine is hurting me. I can't believe it. Should you be shocked it works? Doubting yourself, the creators? I'm shocked it works because, frankly, I don't know how to build keyboards. Please bend me backwards. Father Ino Mushiki is here. Hello, father. My father, Celia, is that how you say it? Celia is gonna win. Celia, can we get a shout out for Celia? I still have no idea if I'm saying your name right. Celia? Chlamydia? Congratulations to Chlamydia. I'm just kidding. People used to call me Chlamydia. It's funny. It's funny because, you know, my nickname was Chlamydia. I finished in the top 10. Look at me. I finished right behind Bread Roll. I'm like behind her, you know? Back shots. Anyway. This is Imagine How Nene acts in court. I'm so professional in court. Listen, buddy. I'm like the most professional, okay? GG, Chlamydia, do you clam? Chlamydia, do we have a clam in chat? Yes, we have a clam to Celia. Celia, I literally don't know what your name is. Can you tell me, please? Celia? Oh god. Okay, I'm sorry for calling you Chlamydia. I'm sorry. Listen, I give everyone awful nicknames, you know, like transphobia, homophobia, sexist. Insty's like sexist and transphobe, so there's lots of nicknames going on. What happened? Did we clam? Clam? That's correct. Celia? Okay, okay, is it Celia? Okay, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. One of my mods will message you the winner form. If they don't, then I will kill them. No, just message me on Discord. If you don't, it's Nine-Go-Go, by the way. I think it's Nine-Go-Go. Wait, can someone message Celia the giveaway form? Okay, whatever. Okay, anyway. The text says be gay, no gay. What is backwards compatible? Backwards compatible means round 1 works with round 2. For example, round 1, Satisfaction 75 PCB works with the round X. The Satisfaction X. You know what I mean? FN, fucking Nine, we're fucking in chat. Papyrus work? What's papyrus work? Double Day, welcome in. Okay. That is one of our giveaways. We'll give away another piece of cloth later. Okay, we'll give it's like the gay pride flag, but like it's the keyboard gay pride flag. Okay, what are we doing? We're doing a typing test. Okay, fuck, this looks good. It looks really good. Why is Nine so cute? Thank you. That's my goal. I aim to be cute, you know. I aim to be cute. I aim to be a cute little Asian girl. Okay. We're gonna do a typing test. Is that okay? Is that okay? Your wish is my command master. Excuse me. Bandit and Frank are gonna have a massive orgy at Keep Live. Okay. All right, what are we doing? Anyway, Keep Live is happening, but no one can get the tickets. So there you go. That's my announcement. Okay. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, typing test. Here we go. All right, what are we doing? Oh, wait, I need to put on... You guys need to be able to see this. Okay. Keep Live is happening, by the way, allegedly. But, you know, it's unconfirmed. Well, it is happening. It is confirmed. I'm just lying. I'm lying through my butt cracks. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, let's do this typing test, okay? All right, this is the, okay. This is our first build. This is the Satisfaction 75X. What does the X stand for? Has anyone asked the important questions here? What does the keyboard sound like? Oh, how does it feel? What does the X stand for? That is the question I would like to ask. Okay, we're getting distracted. What is this? Okay, this is, what is this called? This is Wutre PBT Turquoise. It's got a little purple flecks on it, you know? This is on a PC plate. We have HMX jammies in here. There's no foam. No. What happened to the screen? Oh, okay. The screen goes away if you don't type for a long time. Okay, wait. I want to go back to the... Okay. Okay, is that... Did I say everything? Pre-orders start late July, starting at $111, 111, because you're number 1. Okay. Here we go. edge. We are edging. 121. Holy shit. I thought I lost it. I really thought I did not have it in the first half. Or just in general, in the both halves. I recovered. Holy shit. This is actually such a win for me because I have been failing so fucking hard at these typing tests, okay? You see how fat this cat was fucking going? This shit was like, you see how, that's me. It sounds, dude, this sounds really good, actually. You know what? I'm actually surprised by how good this sounds. Like, it doesn't sound thin. It actually does not sound thin. Oh, I actually really like how this sounds. Oh, I like this configuration. I hope the next configuration sounds good too. Damn. This or Bauer Light? This. I would have to say this. Because they're both injection molded. I personally think this sounds a little bit better than the Bauer Light. It sounds a little bit fuller. And I tried both of the HMX switches. And this one has a little fucking cat in the knob. You know I'm a sucker for that motherfucking cat in the fucking knob. Okay? It's also 111. I don't know how much the Bauer was, actually. I already gave it away. I don't know where it is. I love it. 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 Yo, okay, we're doing a second build. Anyway, you see that flex? So this one doesn't have the side gaskets, actually. It has all the rest of the gaskets, but yes, anyway. I do prefer this over the Bauer. These are both like very hype projects that kind of got delayed because the Bauer was like very like hype. Sat 75 was like hype, and they both released like the injection molded. This is like this the cycle of the keyboard hype cycle. You know what I mean? What's another hype one? Kohaku, they're gonna release an injection molded one. There you go. They're gonna call it they're gonna mark my words. Cause the fucking F1 is they then make one injection molded. They're gonna make a Kohaku injection molded. I called it here right now. They're gonna call it yeah, F1 exactly. That's the cycle. There's a hype board and everyone's like, oh my god, what? And then they make it injection molded. I'm telling you, Kohaku, they'll make an injection molded Kohaku. They will sell it for $100 and it's gonna be hype. Okay? And they're gonna fucking, I mark my words today, June 10th, 2024. Okay? Alright, what the fuck are we doing? I'm just yelling. Okay, anyway, let's do a second build. Let's do a second build, okay? Height, iconic, I'm afraid. Oh, I do have to do push-ups. Oh god. My two favorite colors will be gay, engraving, be gay, do crime. Embo Jangles, welcome. Oh, this is in the screen. Embo Jangles, welcome. Okay, we're gonna do another build of this, but I fucking love this. Dude, I kind of wish this was a second build, because I record my typing test for YouTube, like, right after. She knew a quote. What did I know a show quote? Which quote am I talking about? Oh, the hate crime? I hate it. This is of course. Oh my god. The Office is like my whole personality, and you know, if you want to know something about me, just ask me. And I love long walks on the beach. Okay, anyway. Trying to find the gym to my Pam. Okay, anyway, okay. What am I doing? I need to like extract this knob, okay? Quantagon is here, Clam, Gamer, Bandit is being gaming. Split back on a 75. Yes, I love splitting. Bro, I gotta get this knob out. I gotta grab this knob. Bro. This knob is slippery. You know, this knob. Ooh, fuck. The red one, hi gay. The one where we suck because we can't drive. Name one bisexual that drives. One. If you're a bisexual and you drive, please make. Okay, listen, buddy. We gotta extract this knob. We gotta extract the knob. The knob is in too deep. Oh, there. This knob is in real deep. Okay, anyway. All right. We're gonna take out these keycaps. Except I gotta put it back in there, but I should just grab like a tub because I don't want to deal with it. Hold on, let me grab a tub or something. Is there a little tub? Do I have a little tub or something? All right, let me just put it in here. Okay, second build. If you don't type fast, I'm never coming back here. Excuse me? Alvo, I don't want you here, okay? You belong in Kim Lin Win stream. You're her head mod. You are an awful representation of Kim Lin Win, okay? Oh, Suck You Bell, thank you for the tier 1. Thank you for the tier 1, Succubusy. Hello, welcome in. How are you, Succubusy? Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me money on Pride Month. I love it. We love it, we love it, we love it. Let's see. If you don't type fast and never coming back. Oh, wait. You know what? Excuse me. Oh, Avo actually voted for me. Oh my god. Slay, play. Who else is here? Stiletto is here. Hello. Azalea Leaf. Hello. Oh god, I'm so behind. Chichiro. Hello. Thought you were gonna write Asian Just Steven. Hello. Oh god. Why am I like I'm like standing because I'm like I need to like release my energy. I think I just need to stand. I need to really like lock in on this, okay? That's what she said. Who your mother? Boss Quest. Shout out to Boss Daddy. Hello. Mikaki's also here. Welcome. Okay. Okay, what are we doing? All right, we're doing another build, okay, against my will. Okay, stream will... Oh, fuck. Okay, what's happening? Oh, God, this is chaos. Can you tell the people on Instagram if I win? People on Instagram, hello? Gnome of Death, hello. I'm thoroughly entertained by the play emoji. I love the play emoji. Whoever added that, you're a fucking genius. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, anyway, Mikage looks cool. This is very cool. We'll use some other keycaps, okay? But I think this is the best keycap set for this board, frankly. What other keycap set would look good on this? Maybe Zooted? What is purple's complementary color? It's yellow, right? Should we use yellow keycaps? Is it yellow? Is it yellow? Is it like me? I got gay towels already. Can we just go read the Instagram comments for that thing? They're great, yeah. Such positive, you know, I love to see how this community is great, you know, no homophobia whatsoever, you know, eliminated. Canon Key single-handedly cured homophobia, okay? Let's see what's happening, Is this Mandarin from the MCU? Wait, Mandarin from the MCU? MCU? Wait, what do you mean Mandarin? Who's Mandarin? Let's go lesbians. Autoerotic. Is this code condom for autoerotic asphyxiation? Are y'all into that? I've never tried to choke myself before, but should I try it? Insti went off. Yeah, Insti was popping off in the comments, bro. Song is such a banger. Best new jeans song. Wait, it's best. Oh, sorry, G-Idol. Best new G-Idol song. I didn't know you were a K-pop stan too, Panda. I should expect everyone here to be a K-pop stan. If you're not a K-pop stan, you can't stand me. You can't handle me. Okay, I need to sit down. My back is hurting. Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, shit! Turtle Cat! Turtle Cat, thank you so much for the raid! How was your game? How was your mushroom game? Welcome in. Hello, my dear. How are you? Turtle, how was your stream? Lovely. We're here to burgle your turds. I unfortunately do not have any turds. I never owned a pet turtle before, actually. But, you know, things can change. Welcome in, Turtle Cat. I'm behind on chat. I do apologize, but I will catch up. We're doing another build right now. I hope you beat your mushrooms in that video game. I have no idea what the premise of that game is. I just saw there were mushrooms. Okay. Kaneki sweating for a bit. That sound. I want clown keyboard. Damn, extending stream worse. Next, you're gonna tell me you're gonna build another keyboard. Listen, we're extending, okay? Kaneki sweating. Everything I say, Kaneki is like, we gotta watch this little lady. She's a little troublemaker. We gotta watch this little lady. She's gonna be out here. We're gonna catch a case. You know? Anyway, what's happening? All right, what are we doing? That's discriminatory, can't be legal. I've kissed women. What if I have a gay date with Insty soon? I want to be involved in this gay date with Insty, okay? Queer. I've kissed men. I'm saving myself for marriage. Avo's saving himself for Insty, actually. I have 2 minutes to get gay. Tree Fingers, hello. Welcome. Hope Niagaga wins. I wish she's gay. No way. Celia, unshout out Celia. Is unshout out a thing? Oh, it's an actual command. You always bring up the clap. Do I always... Is chlamydia and the clap the same thing? I didn't know that. I once stayed at a hotel and one of the reviews was like, there were like the hotel gave them crabs, which is crazy. Is the clap chlamydia? Why is it called the clap? Anyway, you always bring the clap. Clam, thank you. How is clap my cheeks an not a permitted term still? Okay, my ass is really last. Empo is last. Hello, that's correct. Man, Autobot is so strict. I have to loud every. Why do I have Autobot? Why do we have Autobot? Yes, these are jammy switches. Makamora and Earl, welcome in. Can we get a shout out to Earl? Earl and my mom are besties now. They're gonna get tea together. They're gonna get tea and spill tea together, okay? Makamora, hello, welcome in Makamora. Canadia, a representation of Canadia. Hello, my ass is really I thought you said your ass was flat. My ass is very flat, actually. Yes, thank you. Whisper knocks the form. Whisper in his ear. He's a lonely man. For real, we need more mods. Do we need more mods? Do we do like a mod poll or something? Should I actually do a mod poll? Should we do a mod poll? Oh my god, I dropped the switch. I wanna run it. So, consensus, HMX jammies. Oh fuck, I keep dropping switches. Consensus, HMX jammies on PC plate, no foam on the Satisfaction 75X. You know, lovely, lovely. Avo, best mod. Mod me. Oh, wait, hold up. Who has been here? Okay, I think, you know what? In the race, we should have the people who have like 60 stream streaks. Should we do it? This is gonna be a mod wall though at this point. Should we do it? Oh god. Let's do it. Mod. We have not had a mod poll in a long time. Shoney's is contender? Pick qualified people? No. Ava thinks he's Ava wants to be. I have a two stream streak. The 60 stream streak people. Let's see, she was almost up at caught up. Oh god, where am I right now? Hold on. I'm getting distracted. Holy shit. He's just searching for the form. I'm backwards compatible for you. Daddy Nine Eye, excuse me? Autoerotic and clapping cheeks aren't allowed because of woke. Isn't the definition of woke being autoerotic and clapping cheeks? Clapping your own cheeks? Gay hanky? Yes, we have a gay handkerchief, okay? Makamora, yes, hello. Hello, Macklemore. My gay ally, Macklemore. How are you, Macklemore? When's the mixtape dropping, Macklemore? Okay, we actually do need to do a poll. Marsha was ordering switches. She had the gift switches. The gift switches? She got the trans pride. What are the gift switches? Can we make gay switches? Can I collab with Canakeys and make a gay switch? And call it the gay switch? Can we call it the gay switch? The gift linear. This does look like the trans, like Pang who's gift. I have not heard of these switches before. It's a 3-star review. Transphobes, truly. I'm ready to lose all these points. Shit with that knob. I hate Key Life. Mod Musings is here. Modular Musings, the creator of the Encore, the juxtaposition keyboard. Hello. Okay, we gotta disassemble this. We gotta unscrew. There's a lot of screws here. Lots of screws here to be unscrewed. Okay, please wait while I unscrew. Shout out to Mod Musings, the Encore. Did the first drop already happen for the Encore? I don't think so. I don't think the first drop happened yet. I think the second drop, I know the second drop is in July. This is kind of cute. This is very cute. Very adorable. I bought a bunch of those switches. You bought the trans switches. I really want to make a gay switch. Hit me up. I want to make a gay switch. Oh, what's like a gay color? We can't really make it. Can we make a switch that's like swirl colors, like rainbow swirl colors? Is that possible? Can we please do that? I need to I'm cooking. I'm gonna reach out to all of the vendors, and if they reject me for my idea, then they're homophobic, right? And I'll make a cancel list for being homophobic. Extreme. I love RedTube. You're here. That's not even your first time chat. I love RedTube. When was your first time? Were you here before? You've sent messages before. What up? Oh, wait. I love RedTube. Welcome in. I'm honored. X gonna give it to you. Your whispers on private. What are the keycaps? The keycaps are the Perkwoids keycaps. The keycaps on here were Perkwoids. I barely made it. And yes, hello, Succubell, Slappy Slap. Those were the Perkwoid switches that I just took off. They're really nice. Okay. Let's see. Recovery skills. My ears have been blessed. Zuwabi, welcome in. I thought you lost it. She's back. Listen, we're back. We're back, boys. The boys are back in town. The boys, aka my fingers, are back in town. Okay, she's back. Skibbity toilet. Satisfy me 75X. Yes, satisfy me I'm very satisfied X, okay? I need to be satisfied to the maximum X, okay? All right, what are we doing? Okay. So one of the key points about these are like the gasket chips. So these gaskets, you can remove them and you can just put them in, right? But I'm not gonna remove the spacebar one. It doesn't, I don't feel like it really affects the spacebar. I took out the side ones, just FYI, for those of you who are new. So look at this. These are some gasket chips, so I can remove these top ones as well, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it right now. Hydrate, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Z Gawk. My Gawk King, this is to satisfy me. Ohio Riz, back on the road to 100K. Listen, buddy, you're about to blow all of that, okay? Let's see, what's the Sigma? How much is this? 111, starts at 111, this board. All right, Satisfaction. Why is it called the Satisfaction? Satisfaction and X put together, kind of dirty. Oh wait, we gotta do a poll. I don't even know what keycaps we're using next. You know, that's crazy. F1 FE is injection molded. Yeah, F1. F1, baby. I love F1. I love F1 race. What is the obsession with the F1 racers? There's like a lot of people who are really into like the F1 racers. And there's like a huge overlap with like K-pop fans. There's like that Max Vanderbilt or whatever. Max, like the Vanders something, some dude called Vander Dur or whatever. There's like a whole like F1 like obsession, you know? All right, runners, KMS keys, green jackets, silly, and then we're gonna do HMX, silly works, or like whatever, the hyacinth or whatever, hyacinth. Oh God, my belly is not feeling good, honey. Maybe because I had spicy paella. What are these? What are these switches? Kale BCPs. Where the fuck are my B-Sun ones? I don't know where they are anymore. And Kale BCPs, okay? These are the options here. Start poll, 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to vote, okay? What are we doing? None out with the leaks, exactly. Injection mold Haku, $99.99. Push-ups, remember what? Oh, I need to do push-ups. Okay, let me do push-ups. Let me do push-ups, and then, you know, we'll put the switches on. Ugh. Okay. There you go. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh! Goodness gracious. I'm still fucking behind. Neighbors finally filing noise complaints about how loud that type test was. Oh! Secondhand embarrassment is my least favorite kind of show. What does that mean? What is that? Unsubscribe. How far behind? We're 13 minutes behind. Oh God. I'm slobbing on a knob. It gets it off. That's actually really funny, Bandit. What's wrong with the wins? They be winning. The wins are winning. And I want them to lose. Mitolette. Oh, Mitolette. How the fuck do you say that? Mitolette? Mitolette? Is that how you say it? Oh God, Zeech is here. I know what he's gonna say. Listen, buddy, we used Frostwish that stream, you weren't here, so that's too bad for you, buddy. That's too bad for you. Mitolette? Is that what it's called? Mitolette? GMK Mitolette? I have a lot of purple keycaps, okay? Yes, Yellow Greg. Hello, Night the Great Earl. Yes, my Earl. My weed daddy, Earl, switches up. He be switches in chat. I need a sitcom called Yellow Like Me. Well, that's like Fresh Off the Boat, right? Fresh Off the Boat could have been called Yellow Like Me. Hooray for Cannon Keys. Guinevere Anna. Hello, welcome in Guinevere Anna. Let's see. Pretty gay. Yellow would be pretty. Is yellow gay? Yellow's a gay color. Which is winning? Kale BCPs are winning so far. All right, Kale BCPs are winning. Looks like Kale BCPs are winning. You guys don't want KMS keys. Confirmed you guys hate the key circle. Okay. All right, we're going to use Kale BCPs. I guess they're winning. Okay. I'm going to start putting them in before the poll ends, okay? Let's see. Yellow would be gay. Autoerotic asphyxiation. Link is broken to the extra at the end. Oh, is it? The link is working for me. I don't know what's happening. K-pop stand-up twice, G Idol, and 17 at the moment. Ooh, 17. Interesting. I never really got into. Oh, this is a, you know, speaking of G-Idol, lovely song. Actually, this is not one of my favorite of their comebacks. I'm not gonna lie. I listen to Queen Card a lot. Queen Card. What is it? I cook cream soup, tastes Coco Loco. I love that song. A little choke ain't no joke. Just don't David Carradine. Who's David Carradine? Is this like an old person reference? Who is this? David Carradine? Did he choke himself? Did he die? Oh, did he die? Who is this guy? Did he hang himself? Wait, how did he die? David Carradine, is that how you say it? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! He was fucking autoerotic asphyxiating himself. Thai police suggest that the death might have been from accidental suffocation due to autoerotic asphyxiation since there was no suicide note, and he was found with a rope tied to his neck and his genitals? Oh! Oh! He died doing what he loved. I'm glad you guys bring up these people because I never would have known. I'm glad my knowledge is expanding. That's crazy. Oh my god, that reminds me of that. There's that movie that Robin Williams was in where he was the father and his son died from like choking himself. World's Greatest Dad. Yes, isn't that the movie? World's Greatest Dad? Hold up. Sex. Oh yeah, his son died from autoerotic asphyxiation in the bedroom. And then he lied that it was a suicide to gain clout or something in the, yeah, that's the movie. World's Greatest Dad. I was like, I remember, that's literally like, that was in a movie. It's actually kind of a sad movie. It's black comedy drama, but yeah, quite sad. Anyway, back to chat, back to reading chat. Yes, I'm at Turtle Cat's raid, welcome. Out of fear of accidentally collapsing your windpipe. Wait, what do you mean? Still, wait, I'm so sorry. I forgot what the context was for collapsing my windpipe. Are you talking about autoerotic asphyxiation? Is that what you're talking about? Oh god. Keep Noob Ellie is here. Hello, welcome Ellie. Hello, Ellie. Shout out to Ellie. Extend it. I'm sorry you're not allowed to, then it would be straight. Instigate? Insty is not here. It's kind of crazy. Even when Insty is not here, he's the topic of conversation. He's kind of a legend for that. He's probably napping or some shit. Loki trying to have a Tim Hortons date with Alex Otos. Who isn't trying to have a date with Mr. Alex Otos, though? Let's be real. Let's be honest. Yes, those were jammy switches, Nakamura. These are now the B-Sun. KLBCPs. I think there was a comparison that we did. I forgot a while back, but these are a slightly bit more high-pitched, I think. Sounds like someone is clapping 2 or D while you pee. What the fuck is clapping 2 or D? Is clapping 2 or D while you... Oh, your D. Someone is clapping your dick. Clap is a reference to the word clap Pierre, which means brothels. Oh, really? Oh, look at you in Double Day, Emiphobia. Clap comes from a French word for a brothel where it's common to get it. Okay, brothels, okay. Anyone visited a brothel before? I kind of want to visit a brothel. Oh god, I'm so sorry. I can't even scroll up to back how far behind she is. Oh god, I'm sorry. Google it, 99 Mom. Can't post it. Clap, the chlamydia. Thank you for the shout out to Keeb Noob, Kev Kobo, hello. Okay, what's happening? Mode poll, mod me, mode poll, hello? Alvo best mod, Melanie is just, listen, I know you're an Avo simp, don't mod Earl switches up their bad influence. TY Kev P. Oh, I think I read these. Did I already read these? I have a 2-stream streak. You're busy, Ariella. You're busy saving the world. You're MD PhD, okay? You have double D's. You got many D's. You got multiple D's to take care of, okay? I don't expect you to be here all the time, okay? You got lives to save. You got people to save, okay? Let's see. I'll vote with the 2-stream streak. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Twitch just reset. Wait, Twitch reset your streak? That's weird. No, Clownfish, you were up to like almost 30 stream streaks. I can't believe it got reset. I'm very upset on your behalf. I'm very upset at this reset. Koala is here. Hello, my child. Koala, are you like, what kind of Asian are you, Koala? Like, where are you really from? Where are you originally from? Are you like, you look like you could be from like Singapore or something. Are you like from Singapore? Are you, you're Cantonese, right? Oh yeah, my wife is Cantonese. Yes, lovely, lovely country. Anyway, dude, literally, I was at the fucking, I think I told y'all this. The last time I was at a fucking courthouse, I was just sitting there minding my own business, and then this old bailiff comes up to me and is like, what kind of Asian are you? And I was like, I mean, I say like Chinese or Taiwanese, so I just said, oh, I'm like Chinese. That's like, ethnically, I'm Han Chinese. My grandparents, you know, left the Chinese Civil War, you know, that's the whole thing. Lore. Anyway, and then I was like, oh, I'm Chinese. And she was like, oh, I love that. My wife is Korean. I was like, good for you, sir. And he just walked away. This bailiff whacked his pee-pee. Sometimes the bailiff needs to be whacked. Sometimes the bailiff needs to be whacked. This old dude just like, okay, yes, love it. Love that your wife is Oni. Oni, I love you, Oni. Okay, I have a one stream shake. Frost Siege, don't even leave, okay? Don't even leave, okay? Let's see. Hag era, years old. We love AE. What, autoerotic? Y'all are kinky. No, some keyboard. Y'all are some kinky keyboard people. Remember when we talk about sounding? I know some of y'all love sounding, okay? AEA, yes. Frost Witch is always the answer. I'm gonna put Frost Witch on here, but for pictures, I will definitely be using turquoise. That shit is the bomb. This Wednesday, the Encore pre-order or in-stock drop. Encore in-stock drop this Wednesday. Get ready, get excited, get bricked up. What does juxtaposition mean? Ask Modular Musings, please, okay? The juxtaposition of materials. He dropped a bomb-ass video explaining the whole process of like designing a keyboard from like whatever the fuck, like product design. There are big words in there. I didn't understand, but I was like, I love that for you. No, Greg, we can't be friends. What would you name the Switch? I would name the Switch the Gay Switch. Can we please make a gay Switch? I want to collab with KMS Keys and make gay Switch. Actually, I'm gonna propose that as an idea. Just call it gay. Gay switches. Tops and bottoms. Top switch and bottom switch. Okay. Fire, please. Craig is good as it should be used often. RT is an O. What the fuck is RT? No, my luck, it's overused. He lets Emma Lighter to dye some Nixies matches. Oh, that's true. That's true. Emma Lighter. Dye me some HHTV cactus to Greg. Emma Lighter be like the dye king. You know, the dye king. Dye king? Dykes? Dykes in chat? Okay. Let's see. Glug, glug, glug. Gonna be good. I think we all know what keycaps are gonna use. Verstappen. Yes, Verstappen. Is that the hot F1 guy? Verstappen? I gotta look this up. Verstappen. I think he's like really hot or something. Yeah, he's pretty cute. He's cute. Have y'all seen the trend of like hot rodent men? Like these men that look like rodents, but they're hot? Like Max Feist, the guy in Challengers, the two guys in Challengers. Jeremy Allen White, or whatever. He's also a rodent guy. Barry Keoghan, also a rodent man. There's like articles on this, like hot rodent men. Yeah, look at this. Look, there's like articles on this, like hot rodent men. This Verstappen guy kind of looks like a rodent man. Look, actors like Mike Feist, and Jeremy Allen White have been deemed rodent men. Hot rodent boyfriend, celebrities poll quiz. It's the summer of the hot rodent boyfriend. This is like a trend. Hot rodent boyfriend. Why Gen Z has gone well for sexy rat. The New York Times is talking about rodent men. Do these dudes look like rodents? Like, he definitely kind of looks like a rodent. People were saying this is the rat. This is what's his face? That one white mouse. What's his name? They don't really look ratty though. This guy kind of looks ratty. This is rude as fuck. It's literally from the New York Times calling them rodent men. Especially the Styles team. Rodent men, what are they? Tiny men? Men who eat garbage? Some kind of furry science experience gone wrong? I cannot believe this is crazy. Timothy Chalamet is apparently a rodent. People are saying Timothy Chalamet is a rodent man. These men don't look like rodents, though. Clockers on top left, Adam Driver. These are not rodent men, though. People are just calling these men rodent men. This is crazy, you know? This is like a phenomenon. Like, people are, you know, apparently really into rodent men, so I love that. I'm wearing a Ratatouille hat, you know? There's a Netflix series on now. People want to be like little ho-hos. So there's a Netflix series on F1 drivers. Is it kind of like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but F1 edition? What is this F1 show? Same with pickleball. Pickleball is fun and addicting. I have not tried pickleball. Is it like a millennial thing or is it a millennial thing or Gen Z thing? I feel like pickleball's a millennial thing. Let's see. Nana Yoko, good work, proud of you. How's the workout going? Listen, I've not gone to the gym in like 2 or 3 months, honey. Assisted push-ups. I gotta do assisted push-ups, honey. Like, I can't. You think I can do regular push-ups? Listen, buddy, you overestimate me. You overestimate my physical abilities. On all levels but physical, I am strong, okay? But not physical. I don't want runners to feel alone. All I do is switch up. 17 right here. Gwenchana. Wife is a good song. I forgot what Wife is. 17 is very nice. I know. The 117 song I listened to a lot was left and right. Autoerotic asphyxiation. Oh, la. Sunny is here. Hello, choke and stroke. Is that what you call it? Sunny is very well versed in the autoerotic asphyxiation terminology. Choke and stroke. Dude was degen as fuck. Turned Norwegian there for a moment. Oh no, so sad. Did he choke his own pee-pee? Pee-pee grip hard. I'm choking on my necks. Do people call their pee-pees necks? Dies with a smile on his face. Did they really have to publish that in the news? Seems they could have. I don't know why they published it. I mean, maybe they published it because they thought he like committed sewer slide, but he actually was like stroking his pee-pee, you know? Found on my rope and genitals death grip. Found with the rope and genitals death grip. Sorry. That movie low-key traumatized me from sad. Yo, that movie was really sad. Hi, T friend. Yes. You asked if we'd like to be choked. I'd rather have a date with Nina. Excuse me? You gotta wait in line, honey. You gotta wait in line. Let's see. Sorry, girl, you're at the bottom of the list. Wow, Shoni just told me, sorry if you're waiting for a date with Lydia. Nina, spit in my mouth. Excuse me. Unhinged behavior right here. The homos are going wild. We need control. Order in the court, please. Okay, I will take away your rights. I will take away your rights, gays. Okay, maybe we didn't deserve rights in the first place. No, I'm just kidding. We do. We deserve limited exercise of rights. No, we deserve all the rights. You know, no freedom till we equal. Damn right I supported. You know, Macklemore, he really said that. He really freed the gays with that line. Anyway. Okay, what are we doing? I'm gonna post I can't live with this load. Describes early treatment for gonorrhea. What the fuck are you talking? We're talking about gonorrhea now? What is this early treatment for gonorrhea? Are all the screws in? I think my only thing is this board has too many screws, but I guess it makes sense for the because it's PC. If you don't have that many screws, it'll literally like you can literally pull it up. That's what happened with some of like the boards that don't have enough screws. They can literally pull it up. So it's kind of like what you have to do with these whatever. Anyway, okay. Keycaps. Okay, what are we doing? We should try this fairy frost switch? Wait, where's frost switch? Did I already use frost switch on another board? Is this all the frost switch caps? No, I think we're missing. I don't know where frost switch is. When did we last use frost switch? Where is frost switch? I actually have no idea where the rest of frost switch is. I have no idea. This is like half of it. Okay, I don't know where frost switch. I can't find it. Someone needs to check my VODs or whatever for where the fuck I put frost switch. I don't know where it is. Okay, Purple Knight, Taro. I think Cootie will look. Oh fuck, Jesus. Okay, I think Cootie would look nice too. Okay, I don't know where frost bitch is. It's definitely not. It's not on a keyboard. I have no idea. I'm losing all my fucking keycaps. Oh, it's here. It's on this. Okay. It's on another keyboard. It was on our last fucking build. Jesus. Okay. What are you doing? Okay, we're talking about chlamydia. What's happening? Okay. Where's the music? Oh, it's playing now. I'm at 2. You're at 2 stream streak. I'm so sorry. I can't ever meet Lydia in real life because we're both introverted, would be too awkward unless it's like social setting with more people. I'm very awkward. I'm a very awkward individual, okay? Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. We need to do a poll for keycaps. There's too many fucking keyboards on this desk. Poll. Okay? Keycaps. There's also a typing test prediction going on, okay? There's a typing test prediction. Hootie, Taro, Purple Knight, Frost Witch, and then there's the PBT fans fairy keycaps, which I think would look actually really sick on the translucent, whatever the fuck you call it. Fairy's also kind of gay. Okay. All right. Fairy's like a slur or something, whatever. It's a gay slur. I have saved precisely checked those 0 lives. You're gonna save so many lives, Ariella, with that MD, PhD, the double Ds. What kind of Asian are you? I'm a jungle Asian, but you didn't ask. What is a jungle? Oh my God, I've seen that meme on TikTok that's like, when they like and then it's like a bunch of emotes like chopstick, kimono, rice. When they like the chopstick, kimono, rice Asian, but you're and it's like mosquito, forest, and then like some other like forest thing, but you're that kind of Asian. Anyway, did y'all see that? Anyway, I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway. Soon. I'm talking about autoerotic asphyxiation. To choke or to squeeze something around your throat, which is made of cartilage, isn't reinforced by anything. People have died as denoted by their windpipe collapsing from asphyxiation through tying something around their throat or squeezing it with some sort of device. Very dangerous to do. Okay, so don't choke myself. Do not choke myself. Got it. Ball lift? Okay, you gotta squeeze the side. So when you choke people, you squeeze the side. What's the proper way to choke someone? Exclamation juxtaposition. My mod musings, what does juxtaposition mean? Oh God, that's not even spelled right. At a science museum, you must be Japanese like those sumos. That's how they get that big. They eat all the kimchi. Oh my God, Randy, you must be Japanese like those sumos. That's how they all. Oh. That has to be some kind of joke. Randy. Very off using a mask that seals off your ability to breathe. Gas masks. Stiletto giving the autoerotic advice, and I love it. I want the oak white KB so bad. What's the oak white paper? What is that? What's the oak white KB? Poly actuating. Oh, by the way, let me see. Okay, so this is Hootie, by the way. Let me show all the keycaps. Hootie. Right here. It's got a little bit of the pink accent. Okay. Taro, of course, everyone knows, one of the OG keycaps in the hobby. It's not like super on, I guess it is. Taro. Purple Knight, of course, we all know, very, very purple. Okay, and then PBD Van's Fairy. PBD Van, this is what Fairy looks like. I don't think it's like 100% on point, but it kind of has that like transparent effect too. So that's what it looks like. Those are your options, okay? Caught Earl because I'm a gay switch. Master Splinter. Earl is a gay switch. Hello, that comedian guy, Ratatouille. They do be rodent light. I see it. Rude as fuck. Avo, kind of giving rodent man energy, honestly. But that's a compliment. Calling people rodents is apparently a compliment now, okay? Let's see. I look like a rat. Placing things together that contrast each other. I love that Mod Musings actually replied to that comment. I look like a rat. You've seen me before. I don't look hot, but you tell me. If you look like a rat, you're hot now, okay? Furry signs. We've been building a lot of fucking purple keyboards. I think it's perfect for Gay Month. I'm into interesting looking people. What one? PBD Fans Fairy one! I'm pretty surprised. Okay, so no Frost, bitch. I'm sorry, Frost. Zeech, you can leave now. You can leave this chat now. We're gonna put PBD Fans Fairy on here. This one's for the gays, okay? This one's for the gays. This one is for my Ginny, who's being extracted, released, unenlisted in the military tomorrow. My Ginny, my Kim Suk Jin. Okay, anyway. Ooh, this is gonna be bussin'. This is gonna look good. It's gonna look bussin'. Okay, what are we doing? Oh my God, interesting looking people. I was thinking early. Michael Sarah is a rodent man. I was into Eyebrow Guy. Who the fuck is Eyebrow Guy? What? Mr. Robot is a robot man? Damn, I'm screwed. Asley is here. Shout out to Asley. Yes, Asley, I know you love F1. I was in your stream. We were talking about you were watching like F1 clips and stuff. There's like F1 drama, but there, you know, we need more F1 female content creators. I'm here for it. I love the drama. It's a boomer thing. I only know that F1, what's his name? He had that Fortnite skin. Hamilton. Chris Hamilton. What's his fucking name? What's that racer called Hamilton? John Hamilton? Lewis Hamilton. Okay, I almost said Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton. Isn't Kev an avid pickleball player? Kev is canceled. He's not called Kev anymore. Geriatric. Pickleball is a boomer thing? It's Gen X? I thought pickleball was a fucking millennial thing. Your life seems pretty busy. Makes heck sense. Okay, if you're still building his keyboard, I apologize. We've been building for 2 hours. This looks pretty good. Look at this. It's like, it's got that transparent. Dude, this keyboard, I'm honestly pleasantly surprised. I'm not gonna lie. It's a second build. It is a second build. Gwenchana. How is physical therapies up? What? Up to sales? What? Wait, what are you talking about, Earl? PT embedded PB. Who the fuck is PT? What? I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. Build infrareds. Welcome in. Exclamation gay. Exclamation build. Yes, gay. We are gay here. If you didn't know, gays. Lots of homos in chat. Okay. Lots of hate crime opportunities here. This is 17 songs in my head constantly. I don't know that many 17 songs. I know the one that's like maestro, and then they do that thing with their legs. I think of a DJ Khaled, that dance he does where he's like with his like feet. That's what I think about when I listen to that song. You're the OG spit talker. You talk about mouth spitting every stream. Do I really talk about mouth spitting that often? I'm on the floor. I yield all my rights. What the fuck is happening? Do I talk about mouth spitting? Oh, the key circle is here. Hello. Def not on the keyboard. Okay, I'm like slowly catching up on chat. I'm really proud of myself. All right, what's happening? Okay, second build here. Is this gonna go in? It's gonna go in. There you go. There you go. I hit it. Oh, I think I might. Did I add more lube? Do I like just fucking lube this shit up to like the extreme? I kind of want to like just lube this the fuck up to the fucking maximum extreme, you know? This shit is probably like soaking wet with lube. Raya, yeah, Symbio. Unfortunately, I don't have Symbio. That's actually a set that I want, but I have so many of these purple sets that I'm like, can I really justify it? Can I really justify it? It's one of the philosophical questions I've been trying to answer for myself, you know? Truly, I have so much time to think about philosophy. Hootie, I'm Vietnamese. That me. Yeah, bread roll, Filipina, Vietnamese. I've seen that. Yeah, the mosquito, whatever that one. Yeah, when they like the rice chopsticks Asian, but you're the mosquito jungle Asian. Yeah, that meme. I just need Ali Song to do her hilarious tweet about fancy versus jungle Asian, but I wasn't sure if I was like, wow, Ariella canceled. Ariella is basically like Asian though, you know, like as an Asian person, you're like honorary, you're like close enough, you know, you're like, you speak more fucking Asian languages than I do. Don't you speak like Japanese and like you're learning like Korean or something? Like you're like more, you're literally like Asian. You're literally my Asian queen, like MD PhD. I'm so proud of Asian women in STEM, honestly. You're literally Asian. Okay, what's happening? What are we doing? All right, this goes here. I think I'm gonna put delete here. Where's delete? Maybe this goes here? Maybe? Okay. All right, what are we doing? How many times do I say, what are we doing while in the middle of doing something that I'm like, just continue to add Alex Cho for Chokies. Alex for Chokies, hello? Hello, Kim is here. Can we get a shout out to Kim? Welcome. We were just talking about you and how Avo is very representing your brand very poorly, by the way. You should keep him in control, honestly. You should keep him on a leash. Okay, I bet he likes it. Bet he likes being on a leash. Anyway, what is this? This goes up? No, maybe this goes here. I feel like this should go here, right? Like this goes here, and then this can go here. Oh God. And this goes here. Is that good? I think that's good. Okay, and then we just need, what are we doing? Anyway, Purple Knight might look sick. Purple keycaps. Overall lessons, don't tie ropes around a neck before cooming. Okay, noted. Tie ropes around neck before cooming. Noted. Very interesting. You know, I just love it when we talk about keyboards. It's just very like scintillating conversation when we talk about keyboards on stream. You know, it's like, I just love consistently talking about keyboards on the stream. You know, that's all we talk about. We're really here for the keyboard stuff, really. You know, everyone has been commenting so much on this keyboard and what they like, you know, asking me a question, asking my professional opinion and feedback on this keyboard. And I truly feel like my, you know, my expertise is, you know, I'm an expert. frankly. You know, my opinion's very valued. I'm a value queer member of this community. Purple, I just hold your breath like a normal human and vanish. What does Avo look like? Avo looks like one of those rat men. Avo is the hot rodent men that they talk about. Who do you match Princess for? Does it look good? I personally like it. Look, it has that, look at that transparent effect. You know what? DMG would look really good on this. NTD, because this is giving like, kind of like, you know, it's giving that vibe. It's giving that energy. Purple for BTS anniversary. Bangtan forever! 보라해! 안녕하세요! 오빠! 사랑해! 보라해! Okay, anyway. Arf, arf, arf. Avo's Dwayne Johnson. Can you go hug Jin for me? Oh, yes, you can. Bangtan forever! 보라해! Lewis Hamilton? Yeah, he's got Fortnite skin. See, that's all I know about F1 is that guy has the Fortnite skin. Homophobic on Pride Month. Okay, which one's the homophobic car racers? NASCAR's the homophobic one, right? Like F1 isn't like the homophobic one. Which one's the homophobic one? Let's see. Capital for pickleball is Naples, Florida. Pro is Houston. Naples, Florida. Isn't that a bunch of like boomers go there to retire? Anyway, I said physical therapist invented pickball. Wait, did they really? Oh, you're lying. Okay, you're lying. You know, just lying. Just lie to me. Lie to me all the damn time. Okay. Knob is on. Okay, hold up. This spacebar, I gotta like... NASCAR is the homophobic one. About to cop all the feels during a long hug. Hello? I'm afraid to ask what the non-mouth spitting is. I'll take you to the next stage with you. Hug me, I need it. I'm proud of you, too. She's caught up in gay pride month. Are you proud of me? What's happening? Non-mouth spitting. What is happening? Non-mouth? Who is spitting not in mouths? I know, y'all be leaking spit for lube is what y'all be doing. I could never do that. I don't have good enough aim. I don't have good enough aim. What if you just, like, spit on their body and you're trying to use it as lube? That's, like... kind of gross. Anyway, Akaisake, welcome in. Zainal is here. Anal, welcome in. Zainal, hello, good morning. Hello, I'm just boring Norwegian. Honorary status, not Caucasian, but Caucasian. Caucasians are just Asians with cocks because we don't have cocks. We have tiny peepees. I know Japanese and currently learning Korean. See, exactly. You're literally more Asian than I am. You're like literally like Ollie London is that you? Okay. Nine hands out honorary Asian card. I do. Emiphobia now has honorary Asian card. Tony has honorary Asian card. Ariella now has honorary Asian card. Okay. I can't control Avo. He's just Avo. Well, listen, you got to control your brand. Okay. The branding, listen. Caucasian, Caucasian. Okay. No, wrong camera. Oh, this is the board. Okay. Oh, wait. We're looking at the Ratman again. Okay. Where's fucking monkey type? This happens every time. Okay. Monkey type. There you go. There you go. Wow, I hate you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Chat wondering what's the next kink Nana's curious about? I'm very curious about the kinks. I really am because I just think it's fascinating, you know? Like, it couldn't be me. Like, I'm choking? My golly, bless her heart. That is, you know, I only care about one thing, and that is my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. The cat is back on. Please spell, we need to know. Oh yes, Cube would look really good on this. Cube would look really good on this. I sold my fucking, whatever the fuck. What did I say? Dude, my back is hurting. Oh fuck. Koala with the 5-stream streak, thank you, welcome. Hello, Koala, my child. Well, I just said hi to you. Sarang, hey, Gwenchana. Oh my god, she's so each ball. She's like so each ball. Isn't that what they say when you're like laughing a lot? Each ball. Oh my gosh, she's so each ball. She's so unserious. Let's see. The guy from Fortnite drives cars. I'd say NASCAR. I only care about Yuki Tsunoda. Who the fuck is Yuki Tsunoda? Of course it's an Asian dude. Of course it's an Asian person. If they spit on me, I'm throwing hands. Not spitting in mouth, gross and wasteful. Okay, I gotta, okay, I'm almost caught up on chat. I'll catch up on chat and then I'll do this typing test, okay? Saranghe. Spitting in mouth, Jason XTSBs. Yes, Jason XTSBs knows a lot about kinks. Yes, he does. What is branding even? Your brand. You gotta protect your brand, Kim. Avo is a liability, frankly, to your brand. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 네, 이름은 안녕하세요, 여러분. Brand me. That man cooks better Chinese food than most Chinese people I know. Listen, I've never even washed my own rice, okay? He's literally more, he's like also kind of Asian card, okay? Emily입니다. 안녕하세요, 레드벨벳입니다. You heard her? Oh my god, so true. I must look into this. Yes, join the Keeb Live server. Jason posts like some bussin' food pictures. He's very like Asian. He's very Asian. What the fuck is happening in general chat? Please bend me backwards. Thank you. What the fuck is... Please ban this. Oh my god, what's happening? Anyway. Yuki Tsunada's Japanese famous. Oh, Formula 1. Love it. F1. Love it, love it. Okay, alright. Stretching. We're gonna do typing that. I was gonna say this stream's a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, because you're a rat man. Ratvo. Can we call him Ratvo? Rodentvo? Okay. Alright. Enough bullying. Okay. I am caught up on chat. I am officially caught up on chat. I'm very proud of myself, okay? Hold on. I wanna like fix this spacebar. Hold up. There's like... It sounded fine before. I think it's like this spacebar and it's like... Maybe I just like... I don't think I balanced the stabs well. It's fine. It still sounds good. Okay. We're caught up on chat. Exclamation caught up. I'm reporting you for harassment. She said you need to behave. Yes, please tell him to behave. Please. Whack his PP, please. Sounds like copium for you. Go from theme to theme. Ban Avo. Okay. Typing test time. We are caught up. And then after this typing test, we're going to give away another gay pride cloth from Canon Keys, a.k.a. the biggest keyboard allies in this hobby. They will take bullets for gay people. They will give gay people money. They're doing free handouts for gay people this month, okay? Okay. What are we doing? All right, typing test time. Okay, did everyone do the prediction? Great, love that for you. Are all the keys working? Hold on, I gotta check this. My back is hurting. My back is broke. Okay, let me see. Are these all working? Love that. It's all working. Okay, great. All right, typing test time. I think I like... Okay, whatever. Fuck it. Okay. Here we go. This is the Satisfaction 75X. We don't know what the X stands for. Okay, we have PBT Fans Fairy. Okay, this is our second build. PBT Fans Fairy. KLPCP switches. Okay, for the cream pies. Okay. And the PC plate, no foam. Here we go. Start over. Bro, I'm flopping. I'm literally flopping. This is not fair. I'm in my flop era. Frankly, my dear, I'm flopping. I'm not late. You're late. Pazuzu, welcome in. Can we get a shout out to Pazussy? I'm fucked. You should hire a coach. I wish do rats know how to type well? Do rats know how to type well? I fucked up. I need to like, hold up. I don't know. I think it might be the spacebar or something. Let me change it to, I think it's a spacebar issue, frankly. Like, this is like literally never, oh, this is a 6U. What is this? There's too many fucking spacebars here. Lost habit again, I'll always believe. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for believing in me. All you doubters are homophobes. I think I like the first build better. I don't know why, like the spacebar sounds like, if I change it to like a jammy switch, I might change it to a jammy switch actually. I kind of like the first build better. I think this still sounds good though. I think I need to like redo the stabs or something. Oh god. Oh, I fucked up the spacebar. Anyway, the spacebar sounded fine before, but, you know, I don't know what I did, but, you know, it is what it is, you know. Sometimes in life, you just gotta take it by the hand. Okay. Okay, what are we doing? Lost. Yes. Okay, what are we doing? Obvious throw during Pride Month. Stab. Oh, no, it's clipped. I think, like, it's, maybe I, like, clipped it weird or something. I might have, like, clipped it weird. I'm not gonna lie. I was not really paying attention, but it's fine. Spread my seed. It sounded fine on the build before, but I don't know. We'll fix it. We'll fix it later, but yes. And then disable slow mode for this room. Okay, listen, I'm gonna focus on those later. Okay. Okay, anyway, yes. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, so this was the Satisfaction 75. Okay, we're gonna take a picture. Twist this knob. Gotta twist this little knob. Okay, there you go. This is the Satisfaction 75. This thing is less than 2 pounds. I blame the spacebar for that loss. It sounds fine now. Oh, fuck, Jesus Christ. Brain Cannon Cox. Cannon Cox, Gate Cox. Okay. Anyway, so we are gonna be doing a typing test prediction. Okay, so let me share this. Let me share this again, okay? So this is a Kiwi Stream, definitely XX. Kiwi Switches, welcome in. Hello. You caught me right at the end of stream. So this was the Satisfaction 75, $111 starting price. So there's a Stratus Gray. This is an Octo Purple, obviously. We did use these turquoise keycaps at first. This is our second build, Deep Ocean Blue, and then Cloud White. Okay. Here is everything. Launched a late July pre-order starting at $111. Okay, lovely. Revised PCB, backwards compatible PCB. The plates are not compatible. I'm normal now. Okay, I gotta talk about build. This is how everything's put together. Love to see it. There's some pictures. There's some comparisons. Love to see it. Blah blah blah. Words. Love it. Love it. Yes. Q&A, baby, honey. Regional vendors, they're not sure. It will not be wireless, okay? There you go. Wham bam, thank you, man. Be heard, yes. Intersect, sign up, reviews. This unhinged review will be here, okay? Love it. There you go. Okay, we're doing a gay giveaway. We're giving away the Canon Keys gay cloth, okay? So this is our second giveaway of the stream. We're gonna give away yet another gay cloth, okay? So let's go back. Let's go back to gay cloth, okay? This is what we're all here for gay pride flags. Oh God, what was that? What was that? Oh, someone followed the stream. Victoria and Vienne, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Gays are always welcome in chat. Hello, gays. I apologize if you're not gay. It's okay to be straight. It's okay. Okay, so let's do Off the Rails. No, that's a little long. That's kind of long. This is longer. Love in the Air is longer. Let's do Off the Rails, because we are off the rails today. I saw the comments on the call. Homophobes are so... Yes, that's what prompted me to buy 20 of these. I saw the comments. The homophobes were leaving awful comments, and it hurt my little gay heart, you know? And I was like, I gotta leave a positive comment. Are you gonna brew some pours in the Zinni Choupe? I'll make my mom do it, because apparently she knows all about, you know, brewing tea and shit. So yes, okay, exclamation play. I'm gonna join exclamation play for the gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, intersex, asexual awareness month cloth gay for the, I don't even know what I read. Month gay cloth for the and by the gays. Kona ship covered. Okay, here we go. Exclamation play. Again, this is what the cloth looks like. It's a gay cloth. All the proceeds go to charity, aka my own personal bank account. Thank you very much, Canon Keys. I love colluding with you. I lied. It's not a racket scheme or whatever. Is that what they call it? Ratchet scheme? Okay. Oh my god, Frank, every time he comes in here, Canon Cox collusion. Canon Cock's in the fucking air. Okay? We love it. Exclamation play. We're gonna do 88 seconds, okay, for gay cloth. Okay, gay cloth. Exclamation Cox, please. Exclamation Cox. Is this how you can afford? Yes. Canon Keys just funnels money to me. I'm the CEO of Canon Cox, actually. I'm actually in the process of buying my shares back for the company and renaming it Canon Cox. Gay Cox as well. And we're in the process, we're gonna collab on a gay switch together. It's gonna be very gay. It's gonna be one of the gayest switches of all time, okay? Well, me your wife, but she is. I cream your room, tastes crinkling. Just FI, by the way, to everyone. Oh, wait, Marbles, sorry. FI, by the way, okay, race starts in 54 seconds. Just by the way, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be streaming on Thursday, by the way. It's unclear. I may be streaming on Thursday. If I do, it'll be the Heine Ladybird, which is gonna be a Milmax build. Very excited for that one. Okay. Infrared, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hello. Tony is here. Hello. Tony, we were just saying you're like an honorary Asian. You're one of the few honorary Asians that I bestowed that title upon. I've knighted you as an honorary Asian. Anyway, I'm still unclear if Asshole is Asian. Can someone please look for his 23andMe and let me know? If he's Asian, he will not have an Ancestry.com. Basically, because, you know, there's so many wars, all of our records were like fucked up or whatever. Anyway, exclamation play, 5 more seconds for Gay Cloth, 9ITT. So unclear if I'm going to stream on Thursday. I will let y'all know. If I don't stream, I will put in the stream title just because I don't like pinging everyone all the time. This is called Off the Rails. Oh, this is gay, honey. This is gay, okay? Served mother cunt in the jail for slaying your mother. Double homicide, baby. Manslaughter. Cunt slaughter. Charge him with cunt slaughter. Charge him with cunt. Charge her with cunt slaughter because she slayed your mother, okay? Anyway, I don't know what's happening. Gay cloth, gonna change my month. Gay cloth. Gay moths. I love gay moths. Any gay moth? I want Shoney's to win so I can send one singular cloth. So you send one singular cloth to South Korea and it costs an arm and a leg. Probably not worth it for the, you know, for the international fans, you know, for the international homos, you know? Look, this is so gay. All right, let me see what's happening. Cox in the air ratchet scheme. Is this how you can afford? Oh, wait, I just read that. Imagine. I'll ask Daddy Frank for proxy shipping. Daddy Frank is here. Hello, Daddy. If you win this race, you are gay. Keep that in mind, okay? Let that sink in. I just want you to let that sink in, okay? We have Cannon Cox, privileged little man. Yes, hello, Tony. Do we get a shout out to Tony? Well, Ariella's in the lead, and Ariella's like MD, PhD in gayness, you know, Bing Chilling. Giga Cheese is here. Hello, shout out to Giga. Gaby is also here. Speaking of Gaby R, hello, shout out to Gaby, my twin. My twin, where have you been? Oh my god, is Tony gonna win? Is Tony gay? If Tony wins, Tony is gay. Oh my god, Ariella took that. Oh my god, Ariella is gay. Ariella is gay as fuck. Look at all these Asians winning. Can someone please tell me if the asshole's Asian? I'm literally gonna DM you and ask you if you're Asian. I need to know. A little piece is here, my Taiwanese king. So many Taiwanese kings here. Hello, welcome a little piece. Xiao An. Zao An, what a Xiao An. Shoney's just one chance. Gay. Homos in chat, then that was close. Tony's a gay. Is Tony a gay name? Who's a gay name? Who's a gay man named Tony? What was that finish? Ariella for the steal. Are you Asian or a girl? Are you bro or Asian? There's 2 genders, Asian or girl. Congratulations, Ariella confirmed gay. I thought I was gay Tony from GTA 4. Is there a gay Tony from GTA 4? Gay Tony is gay. Love it. I'm bi. Nine, please lick the claw for me before sending. Okay, I will lick it. I'll shove it up my ass and send it to you. I'll wipe my butt with it. Is that okay? Gay Tony is lit. I love that fucking Tony email. Why is that called Tony? I don't get it. Yes, congratulations to bisexual, queer, LGBT, gay, Ariella, okay? Gay Tony's a whole ass DLC? Wait, really? There's a GTA 5, wait, there's a GTA 4 DLC where Tony is gay? What is happening? He does a lot of coke? The Ballad of Gay Tony? Is this real? Can I request? He's actually gay. Tony is actually gay. Canon. Is something called Ballad of Gay Tony? Are you serious? I have to look this up. Ballad of Gay Tony? No way! Oh my god! This is hilarious! Ballad of Gay... Newsman, don't get turned bodyguard best friend of Anthony Gay Tony. This is Tony. I love it. I love this. 2008? When was this really? This was subversive. This was crazy. Released in 2009 before Macklemore legalized same-sex marriage? This is crazy. If you had GTA stream when, I would slate the house down, boot, blah, blah, trailblazer, serve mother cunt for cunt slaughter. Anyway, that was the stream. Okay, lovely. We love to see it. Congratulations on winning. Congratulations to gays. Congratulations to the gay people. Okay, love that for the gays. Okay, the gays are winning. Anyway, in conclusion, that's my stream. Okay, that was my stream. How did y'all love it? How did y'all love it? Here's the keyboard. Okay, absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I will be posting a sound test at some point, probably immediately after stream because that's what I always do. Anyway, I hope you guys. Oh fuck. Same-sex marriage has been legal in Norway. Well, listen, we're not all Norway. We can't all be Norwegian, can't we? Emiphobia. Some of us are American. Cold-blooded American. Okay, anyway. Who is streaming? Who is doing keyboards? Is there anyone doing keyboards right now? Any keyboard makers in chat? We're gonna go raid some holes. That's racist. You're welcome. It's frankly my favorite thing to do is be racist. No, I lied. I'm only racist towards myself. There's someone building a keyboard. LGBT keytuber. No, I don't go. Unfortunately, from America, unfortunate. Merlots. I see this person called Canalia is live. This is a VTuber. LGBT. There's a gay VTuber. Can wait. Okay, we'll stream for 16 more hours. Can I do a sleeping feet stream? There's an LGBT VTuber. Okay, should we go raid them? Who's Merlots though? I want to see who Merlots is. Merlots? There's no leaving your feet me up. Who's Merlots? Is Merlots another streamer? Let's see. Merlots Teclados. Let's go raid this gay VTuber. Let's go. Patty just went live. What is Patty doing? Do we want to raid Patty? Patty's playing a game, or do we want to raid? Oh, wait, we need to pay people out. We almost just raided. Do you want to raid this gay VTuber? Choose outcome. Okay, 120 or less. There you go. Is a keydoer from Colombia? Merlots or this gay VTuber? What do we want to do? Raid smaller. Okay, let's raid this gay VTuber. I will also give Merlots a follow. Please go shout out. Please go. I'm gonna give Merlots a shout out. Okay, go check out Merlots as well. Okay, we're gonna raid this gay VTuber. Okay, for the gays. We're gonna do it for the gays. Can we raid homophobia? We're raiding holes. We're raiding whoever's hole is smaller. Okay. Okay. What's our gays in my gays in chat? Gays in chat, and then we're gonna do a little raid message. Okay, so that is gonna be our raid message. Gays in chat. Is this even going? Oh god, is that going? Raid? How do I get gays in chat? Twitch raid. Okay, there you go. Gays in chat or this one. I don't know if they have the there you go. Thank you all so much for coming into my stream ever since I'm coming. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little build, purple queer build, very queers in chat. Thank you all very much for the follows. Thank you, Turtle Cat, for the raid. Hello. Thank you very much, Apiary, for the raid. Thank you all so much for the resubs and the gifties. I appreciate it. My holes are wet. Joto's in chat. Is that a gay thing? It's Joto's a gay slur? Anyway, okay. Anyway, goodbye, y'all. I love you all. I'm not sure if I'm going to see y'all on Thursday. We'll see. But if not, I will see you next Thursday. I'm not streaming on Monday, by the way. Not streaming next Monday. I'll be in trial, whacking peepees. Joto's in chat. Anyway, okay, I'll update y'all, maybe. Okay,